Well, what is it like working with the government? Your experience so far? Are they receptive to change? Are they more collaborative? What was your experience like?
Very positive, frankly speaking. Even before I was sharing Eurocham, when the first time I arrived here, I was the CEO of a large bank, HSBC, and I remember my very first meeting with the State Bank of Vietnam. At the time, there was even capital market was very new. Everything was new. There was. And I remember one of my first meeting, the deputy governor was sharing the meeting facing the foreign banks or a few foreign banks, telling us, but if you can help us even to draft the regulation or to draft the law, to draft a circular on this, because we have a few papers from the OECD, we have a few papers from consulting, whatever. But maybe your banks can help us with what is the best practice in your countries, and from then we can see what is the best for Vietnam. So it opened my eyes that even my previous experience was in Hong Kong or in France. So it was my very first assignment in a developing countries, and I found this extremely interesting approach from the government and very useful for us. And I start feeding the government with a lot of paper, which I got from my head office, and they like it very much. And actually, I start building up my relationship at a high level with the government, especially with the State Bank of Vietnam and a bit with the MOF, like this. And very quickly, I had the reputation among the leaders of the country that I was someone willing to cooperate, willing to help. So it has actually benefited me very much when I become chairman of Eurocham. I had already a kind of people knew me from my banking experience, and they were very receptive of what I was doing with Eurocham, probably because they knew that I was someone constructive, willing to help, rather than someone which is criticizing and asking for unreasonable things to happen. So, in the dialogue, you have to be two people. If you are only alone, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I have to really very sincerely praise the Vietnamese government for its attitude, always listening to us. Of course, they don't buy everything. Sometimes it takes years to get something to be changed, because sometimes even at the central government you feel that they sympathize, or at the National Assembly, and then when you go down to the local government or provincial government, it's a very different story. The central custom department may tell you one story, and then when you go back to your work and you discuss with the Ho Chi Minh City custom, they have a different interpretation. So that's probably more difficult. But in general, I think Vietnam has made a lot of progress, and despite the fact that I think our white book is too thick today, we have managed to resolve quite a lot of issues, which today is the main reason for Vietnam to attract more foreign direct investment from all over the world, and probably also was helping the government to move forward, signing a free trade agreement with many countries, feeling comfortable in doing so. So it has been definitely a very interesting journey, and the dialogue still exists today. Let's say the big progress has been that even today, we see the draft of the law ahead of the National Assembly. The government is circulating to the chambers and to us in particular, not all of them, but when it is relevant for businesses, we have a chance to review the draft. For example, the new labor code on the cyber security, we have a chance to review the draft, to comment the draft. Maybe not only once, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times before it is submitted to the National Assembly. Then after it is voted, you're right. I think it's the devil is always into the details, and implementation is the most difficult thing. And The law in Vietnam is not extremely precise. I think it is good because it is open for some good interpretation, but sometimes it also works against you, and sometimes the interpretation is not correct for some reason. I think it is less and less because now everything is computerized. They went very well digital, and it helped a lot because when it is digital, you have less interpretation and you can prove that this good has been treated this way somewhere. But
so you have more evidence. Yeah, I think it's part of growing pains, but I think it's overall.
But of course, difficult for me to compare because I have been working in many countries in my career. But I always feel that Vietnam was extremely open-minded in a dialogue with businesses, and in particular with foreign businesses, and it has benefited a lot in the last 20 years, which I witnessed.
Good.